what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you have not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to join the community Flat Earth Debate, then go to nathanoakley.com and join the Flat Earth Debate community forum there. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below this video. Now we're about to set up for the first live show of the day, but we are currently joined by Paul and Sleeping Warrior. Good to have you both.
Woo! Thanks for having us on here, for having me on here.
I'm glad I've got you in one of these quiet moments, Anthony, because yesterday before the show, you sent me a few screen caps about educational things, and you said you wanted to discuss them on the beginning of yesterday's show, but you weren't there to do so. I'm sure you were busy doing considerably more important things, but is that something you still want to discuss?
Sorry, was that to me?
Yeah.
Sorry, I wasn't listening, I was reading something. What did you say?
I'd said, shout out to Agent Dubsky for sending a super chat before the show's even begun. And
It wasn't aimed at me, that bit though, was it?
That bit wasn't said at all until just then. Yeah, shockingly, I've just had a super chat before the show's even begun. Anyway, the screen caps that you sent me 2 days ago, do you remember what they were?
The emails?
Screenshots on Skype.
The 2 emails I sent to you?
Could be emails. I thought they were screenshots from Skype.
They were screenshots of emails on Skype.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I'm trying to lead you. Is that not something you want to talk about?
Well, I was going to wait until the start of the show because if I start talking... I can give a really short summary.
Go on then.
They're not letting me do this topic at the university on this topic that I choose to do my topic on. They've said that they don't have a specialist in education law, despite having a university full of PhD level practicing or recently practicing solicitors and barristers. They don't have any subject matter experts on education law. Obviously, I find that a repugnant statement, and I've challenged it. But they also say that there's not a substantial enough angle of law. And I'm like, no, I don't agree with that either. There's a very precise point, and I'm going to be challenging it. So I'm not accepting your reservations or your refusals for me to do work. You're going to have to kick me off the course. I haven't committed any mistakes. I haven't committed any disciplines. So I don't accept your explanation for why I can't do it. So it's been referred to the head of the law school. I suspect that they suspect that there might be a rat on the board on the floorboard. So
by that you mean somebody's intervened after getting wind of what you're doing and said no. This shouldn't.
No, I think not. I don't think there's been external intervention. I think there's been a realization moment. I may have said a key phrase out of context slightly, or they've spotted the angle that I'm looking at, and they don't like it. I think they might have realised that it might be conspiratorial in nature rather than legally questioning anything. And because they don't know what I'm going to be presenting, I think they're feeling as though this may not go good for them if they allow me to do it. So I think that they're trying to preemptively stop it. They're encouraging me to change my topic. They're not trying to kick me off just yet, but they definitely don't want me doing this topic.
Yes, that's outrageous. You've got a legal stance. You've got a case that's got case law precedent set off the back of it that's directly linked.
Correct.
From what I could glean, the only objection that I saw in there was that they felt that there wasn't anybody that could lead you, i.e. an expert there. And I think the words you just used were, that's repugnant. I think I'd probably be inclined to agree with you. But
Well, yeah, they're saying that the university that's full of PhD level academics that are ex or currently practicing barristers or solicitors, they're saying that they don't have any experts on education law, and I beg to disagree. I think they've got a university full of PhDs. I think they're all qualified to be experts. They just need to do a little bit of research. But if I do the research for them and then they backwards research my answers, then they don't really need to be experts. They just need to find the section of law that's relevant. And if there's a problem with it, then I'll fail. But I'm confident that I won't fail on it because I'm confident that the law's correct, that there is enough supporting criticism and supporting documentation. And ultimately, it's my choice. So I don't really see the problem. So it's been escalated. The head of law is now involved. And my teacher's literally saying that she's washing her hands of this. She's not having anything more to do with it. And I'm like, that's okay. No worries. Do you remember when I said that there was always the chance that they may not even allow me to do this? We're at that point.
Really? You're contracted with them?
Oh, I know. I've told them that I have a contract, that I haven't got any disciplinary problems. I've been to every lecture. There's no reason for them to break their contract with me just because I choose to do a topic that they might not agree with me on. And they haven't got a good enough reason. Not having a subject matter expert, it would be relevant if there wasn't a university full of PhD level law academics. That's not going to wash. So the only other angle is that you haven't got a shallow enough, you've got a too shallow angle in law. And there may be an argument there, and let's give them the benefit of the doubt and say that there is. Let's say it is too shallow. All that's going to happen is that I'll not get a strong paper. I may just scrape through. But they can't fail me on it if there is actually law there, because there is law there. So we'll just have to see.
Yeah, very cool. I'll read out these super chats and then I'll start the live show. So, Agent Dubsky says, I purchased Fallacy Detective for my daughters. You're an inspiration. Love your show. Oh, isn't that sweet?
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you have not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to join the community debate forum, then go to nathanoakley.com and join the Flat Earth Debate forum there. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they're live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon, and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, though, if you would like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you're currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcomed back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now, we are joined by The Plain Truth, Sleeping Warrior, and Paul. Good to have you all.
Hello.
Do the first shout out to, was it Agent? Oh, it's already scrolled by. Damn, I did actually shout him out in the pre-show, but his name's already scrolled by on the chat. So let's do housekeeping instead. Any signs of curvature?
No.
That was quick. Any signs of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
Definitely not.
About scientific evidence of gravity?
No.
What?
Gravity, Travis. No?
Nope.
What about evidence that you can have a gas pressure without a container?
No.
Nope.
About evidence of the distance to the sun?
Nope.
Nope.
No? Well, this is going swimmingly. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Nope.
Nope.
Wow, this is going to get rounded out real quick. So what about evidence of the R value? Earth radius, gentlemen. Any evidence of that?
No. Only when Bob the physics guy joins. What an utter moron that guy is. He was right when he said he was trolling yesterday. Just sad that he didn't realise that we were aware that he was trolling.
Trolling or
Sorry.
otherwise, he had his ass handed to him. So it doesn't matter about your motivations if you're made to look a fool. You're made to look a fool, regardless of his intentions to be trolling, if that's what he claims.
Yeah, but
Chocolate.
if you're trolling, you don't care if you get made a fool.
Say that again, Travis. I'll just turn you up.
I was just saying, if you're trolling, you don't really care if you get made a fool because your main objective is just to troll and cause trouble.
Maybe. Trouble for him. He made scientism believers everywhere very disappointed.
Yeah, it was a very difficult thing to listen to yesterday.
Yeah, best / and or worst performance of a Glober to date, I would say.
Good morning, guys.
Hey, Chocolate.
Chocolate.
What's up, everybody?
Hey, Chocolate.
You were your usual self yesterday, Chocolate, with the most poignant summaries of the main debated points at any given moment when you piped up. Excellent as ever.
Thank you very much. Trying my best.
Arwin needs a spanked bottom. I was listening back to it on the replay on the main channel on Nathan Oakley. Shout out to anybody watching this on Nathan Oakley 1980. And I was like, wow, I really am having to tell Arwin off, you know, because he just can't help himself. He did apologise halfway through, so I shouldn't give him too hard a time because he obviously recognised that he was doing it. But, you know, and he gave his explanations too. He's like, I can't remember the word he used. It was quite an interesting word, but I think it's donkey show or something. He was like, I'm just so frustrated at this donkey show.
Right, though. What's interesting is Red Pill Philosophy shared that part of that discussion, and the comments underneath are genuinely neutral because they are from Red Pill Philosophy subs, and when you go through them, reading them, you see the same trolls that are trolling him as what are troll you, troll me, troll all the people on our side. People like Laurie Lato, that idiot that thinks he's got this funny accent, a funny twang to his tone in his voice. And he's obviously throwing stones saying how Nathan's this and Nathan's that. Yet Laurie Lato's one of those idiots that frequently has his ass handed to him. And he doesn't see the problem with him just being an idiot. But basically, it's difficult to judge how stupid these people are. Are these people intentionally trolling, like on this occasion he was? Or are these people genuine ballers that have a genuine belief that the Earth is a sphere? And in which case, yeah, Nathan does go in too heavy-handed at times. But it's difficult because there is the ball Earth side is riddled with deception. Yeah, sure, I may get things wrong periodically. Nathan might get things wrong periodically too. Who cares? We make mistakes. We all do. We can admit that we make mistakes, though. Ballers never, ever, 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 ever concede either accidental mistake or, no, that's not supported by this evidence. This evidence is stronger than my own. They never, ever concede anything. So it's because there's so much intentional deception to mislead and obfuscate points that we have to be pretty heavy-handed with these people because it's difficult to tell whether these people are dumb or just trolling. And a lot of them are intentionally trolling. So if you're on the dumb side and you actually get treated as though you're a troll, apologies, your peers have let you down. But if you're a troll, don't bother coming in. Just bring evidence if you've got evidence. If you haven't got any evidence, just leave. Don't bother coming in. There's no point you coming in to troll because it just ends up being a shit show for everybody.
Shout out to, is it Laugh Mal Johnson? I can certainly read the Johnson bit beyond the glare of my screen. Thank you very much indeed. £10 for yesterday's show. Oh, right. Super chatting for yesterday's show. Thank you very much indeed. And a shout out to Fucked Use. Yesterday's show was amazing. Another super chat for yesterday's show. Isn't that great? Thank you very much. Really appreciate your support.
So a comment in chat there says that it says zero. I'll not bother reading it. It's from someone with zero subs. Shout out to those with zero subs spewing their nonsense in chat.
Oh, we got Bible literalist in the chat. So Paula, big shout out to you. Go and subscribe to her channel. Very good channel. she's been participating in the forum, so I'm gonna, if I can get a chance, drop it on a live. What an evil sod I am. So hopefully, if Paula's willing, I'm gonna ask her if she can be a moderator on the nathanoakley.com forum, as she's been probably the widest, or what's the word, the most frequent participant to date. That's the only reason I'm asking her, but she may just say no. I just want to take part for fun. But nevertheless, I'll ask her in person. So we shall see. We shall see if she says yes. Hopefully so. If we get no response, I won't ask her. Yeah, check out the forum on nathanoakley.com. It's already bustling with life. My webmaster pointed out that he's started a different forum at a similar time, and it's got, virtually no, or I think he said no or virtually no activity on it. So obviously this being shouted out on my show daily to quite a few people is a big bonus for my website, because it means I am driving traffic to it, which is great. But people are participating in those core subjects that we cover at the beginning of each of these shows, or most of the beginning of each of these shows, which is to say the housekeeping questions. And with the exception of the R value, all of those topics have had at least some interaction from the public so far. So I am made up. I'm really pleased. Again, my webmaster today on a conversation pointed out that you can now post links, hyperlinks to videos, and they'll just play from the site straight away. So you can basically embed stuff, which is great in terms of the way it works, because rather than it driving you off the site, you can actually watch the video there and then. Oh, what's wrong? Thanks for filling the gap, guys. Really, really appreciate it.
It's okay. Nathan, just share my screen for me if you would.
I will do.
I'm just looking on your the website, and I've clicked on the forum bit, and I found a topic that I want to write a comment on. Oh, it's all right. It's doing it. It was just delayed. The following was written 4 years ago in response to certain flat Earth proponents. Who wrote that? Is that you? New member, right? So there's a long comment here. Just going to write a comment on there so that people can generally give me a little bit of stick, because that's generally what happens.
Are you logged in?
What?
Are you logged into the forum to make a comment?
No.
Ah, well, this isn't going to be as slick as you thought. You do actually have to register, so I'll take you off screen for now, just so you can do that if you choose to do it during the show or after. But I appreciate the sentiment, though. Hopefully you'll be an active participant.
Username.
While you're doing that, I'll shout out some of the chat. Shout out to Negator XX. Good to see you. Gleam, nice to have you. DMT Matrix, thanks for being here. Bible Literalist, hey Paulo, I've already said hello to you. I didn't actually look at your response, I'm really sorry. Jimbo, nice to see you. See Clayton, I can see that bit. Haunted House, I can recognise that name. Pele, good to see you. Pele, I recognise that name. I think I'm subscribed to you.
Yeah, it's real.
Got Martin, nice to see you. Flat Flaz 68, good to have you here. Them Exposed, nice to see you. Matrix Media, hello. Captain Capslock, hello. D-Power, hey. Hey to you too. AJM, nice to see you. Colin Turner, thanks for all the super chats. Martin, I think we've said hello to already. If not, hello. Trish, hello. DNavPI, hello. Good to see you. Mo Johnson, hello. Nothing happened. Good to see you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Slick James Johnson, nice to have you here. Parish Mike, thanks for being here. Jose JG, Soundly Slayer Gonzalez. Did anybody say boom?
Gonzalez is what he needs.
Speedy Gonzalez when it came to the housekeeping the other day. CGI Ranty, nice to see you.
You mean Speedy out the door?
Yeah, it was like, any signs of curvature? I'll be back in 5 minutes. Shout out to Colin Turner for the super chat. Thank you very much indeed for your support, guys. Really do appreciate it more than you can imagine at the moment. Andres Ace, nice to see you as well. DJ Van Tonda. Interesting name. Effie Viking, hello. Good times for all, Zach. Hello. That's about it. I think I've shouted everybody out if I missed you. Oh, is that Dog, Draw Mega? Sorry if I've butchered any of these names. Unsalted, you're going to be the last one, I think. Oh no, Peanuts Clark, you'll be the last one to get shouted out.
How many people are watching right now, Nathan?
I don't actually know. I'll just press a button. Give me 20 seconds and I'll tell you. Hey, hey, Adam Meakin. Got a bit tongue-tied today.
There's 120 over here.
119. There you go, Russ. Thanks for deserves a shout out as well. 119.
There's enough people to for this to be worthwhile. All right, so a couple of days ago, I got an email back from the university in question, and before Christmas, we had to submit our proposal, and it was like a 600-word proposal of what we're actually doing, what areas in law that we're focusing on, and what the arguments are going to be, and what the conclusion of what we're going to do is going to be. Obviously, I've got to carefully word this because I've got to word it in the context of there's enough law here for me to argue it, but also I don't want to give too much away. So I've got to slide my scale across to the law side at this point and disregard the elements to Copernicus in terms of flat Earth. So I submitted that before Christmas, and then the first week back after Christmas, which was around about the 10th or something like that, 10th of Jan, I get an email that I didn't receive until last week. And the email was saying from the teacher that she's not sure that this is suitable for this level of education on the basis that they don't have a supervisor they don't have a supervisor that has expertise in education law to supervise me, which is a problem because it has to be supervised. That's one of the requirements for the course. It's got to be supervised. It can't be truly independent because you've got to do this in a format that they expect you to do it in. And if you do it unsupervised, you're gonna make the mistakes that will cost you your title just by not having the right format and the correct layout and complying with the internal rules of writing essays. So it's to stop that. So there is a valid point there to some degree. But she also said that she feels that the angle in law is too shallow. So I didn't get that until one day last week. Now, I think it was Monday actually. What day are we on now? Thursday?
No, Wednesday.
It was Wednesday. Yeah, I think it was Monday. I think I got it on Monday at midnight. Checks my emails, sees it there, and she's telling me that I can't do it. So remember, she's saying I can't do it on this topic at the moment because it's too shallow an angle, and it's also they haven't got an expert in education law. Notwithstanding the fact, of course, that the university is full of PhD level academics that are either currently in practice or recently in practice, lawyers and solicitors and barristers, but they're claiming that they don't have an expert. Well, I say that's bullshit when you've got a PhD level library full of them, because they do. So I'm not accepting that as an argument. The angle is too shallow, being the second point, is potentially a valid one. So it's a case of, if there's not enough law in here to argue it, then does that mean that I shouldn't do it because I'm going to jeopardize a decent mark because there's not enough law? That's a fair point. There may not be. Let's go with the idea that there may not actually be. Is that enough to stop me writing about a topic of my choice? Now, it may mean that I have to jeopardize a strong mark in this if it is the perception that the angle in law is too shallow. However, they haven't seen the paper. And she obviously hasn't done the research because I don't believe that the angle is shallow. There's established case law there. There's critical writing in the journals about it. I don't think it is too shallow. It is precise and it's very on point, but I don't think shallow is the right word. I think precise is the right word. But as things stand right now, she doesn't want me to do it. I've told her, I'm sorry, but this is my contractual right to do this on a topic of my choice. And whilst I've read your comments and I appreciate your position, respectfully, it's not my fault or my problem if you haven't got a subject matter expert, despite having a university full of PhDs. And if the angle's too shallow, I'm prepared to take that risk. So where do we go from here? She's wrote back and said, I'm not prepared to deal with this because I don't think that you'll pass your exam because I think that your angle's too shallow. I think we've not got a supervisor to give you. You're going in the I don't know how to deal with you box. So I'm referring the matter up to the head of law. I'm like, okay, that's fine. So the head of law is she's invited me to write to the head of law to state my case. And I'm like, well, I don't really actually need to state my case. My position is I'm carrying on doing my work unless I'm told that I'm not to do so. So at the moment, the head of law is now involved. And when I look into this guy's credentials, he's got more legal writing than anybody I've ever seen. He's written shed loads of articles on different elements of law. And I'm going to suggest that he could be my my supervisor because he seems to be extremely well written in legal writing. And I'd quite like him to be my mentor, actually, my supervisor. So I've switched it round and said, I want you to be my supervisor. So let's just see what happens. But as it stands right now, they've got to decide, are they going to stop me from doing this writing that I want to do a topic on? It's my choice. And if they do, how are they going to do it? Because I haven't got any disciplinary problems. I've been to all the lectures. I'm ahead on my work. I'm almost ready to submit it. If I really wanted to, I could do it with a couple more hours work on it. It's ready for submission almost, but they don't want me to. So they've got to either kick me off the course or they've got to make it work, but supervise. But they're saying that they can't make it work or supervise. So they're kind of left with nothing. So they've got to really kick me off the course. Otherwise, I'm doing this, but they definitely don't want me to be doing it. So watch this space. It's all going to get interesting in the next week.
Seems outrageous that they can say that they basically can't provide you with the educational support required. It's like, well, that's your deficiency, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, they've all got the same skills that I've got in terms of the legal research. If I've done the research and I give them the answer, then all they've got to do is backwards research it to see how I got to it. And I'll tell them how I got to it, and I'll give them everything they need to know. They don't need to be legal experts in education to be able to understand the basics in it. And I don't accept that argument. You can't argue that a university full of PhDs aren't experts in their field when their field is academic research. That is their job. So I'm not accepting that as an argument. It is outrageous. It's repugnant as well, to be honest, because it's almost saying that we're incompetent. And I'm not going to allow them to do that because they're not incompetent. They can do this, and it's their job to do this. And I'm going to be contractually expecting and demanding that they do. The shallow angle in law bit's probably going to cost me a strong mark because they may say, well, it's too shallow, and that may well be true. But it won't cost me a place. They'll not fail me on it. Might just get a pass. But it's worth just getting a pass, as long as it goes through and doesn't fail. But there is the gamble. But yeah, you're right. It's not acceptable that a university full of PhD level academics aren't experts in their field when their field is academics. Come on, you're not practicing lawyers anymore, guys. You're academics.
Anybody else want to chime up on this? Well, I thought this would generate a whole bunch of conversation. Oh, go ahead, Paul.
Well, actually, I do have a comment. I guess I'm talking to real quick. I'm trying to do two things at once, too many things. I mean, I guess the worst thing you could do is you could actually
sorry, let me interrupt. Well, Keyboard Warriors just said, we don't care about you getting a high mark. I agree. I'm not interested in the mark. The whole point of the GoFundMe is to expose the education system. Exactly. You stick by your morals and go for it. I'm stamping my feet. I'm telling them to either kick me off the course and breach their contract or back off and let me do what I'm doing. Literally, that's what I've said. You will have to breach your contract with me and expel me from the course. Otherwise, I'm doing this. I'm going to do this paper. I agree completely with Keyboard Warrior. It's not about me getting a high mark. I agree. I won't get a high mark if it's contentious. The whole point is to expose the education system. You're right. It says in their paperwork that I can choose this topic, a topic of my choice that I challenge the current thinking on. That's what I'm doing. But it seems to be that it's only the topics that they want me to do, not the topics that I choose to do. So I couldn't agree more, Keyboard Warrior.
Well, and even that, I mean, didn't you say originally when you were first doing this that they told you could do it on a topic of your choosing? Didn't they say that at the very beginning?
That's right. That's what they put on their promotional material, which is the main reason why I chose this particular course. It was cherry-picked, this course, because of what the material said. I obviously want to choose, and I choose, and I have no reason for why they should, or they have no reason for why they should not accept my choice, because it is their paperwork. They're going to have to breach their contract with me and kick me off the course to stop me. or I might have to do it without supervision. But if I do it without supervision, I'm going to argue that I should be given handicap status, because if I'm not being given the support that I should be given for whatever internal reasons, then I'm at a disadvantage to other people.
Well, here's the thing. I thought if you breached your contract, is there any law in the UK for breach of contract that you could sue them? So in a way, you could go after them.
Universities do. Yeah, university institutions do get sued for breach of contract, but I mean, it's not even going to. If they breach the contract, right, returning my money or the money, the GoFundMe money, isn't going to be an issue. That'll be done immediately. The bigger problem they've got is that it's politically a really hot potato, because to expel somebody for choosing a topic that they consider to be shallow in law and not suitable because they don't have a suitable supervisor. Well, part of 50% of that is their own issue, right? Because they've not got a suitable supervisor. But that's not an acceptable position when all of their supervisory staff are all PhD level academics. All of them are qualified to be able to do this. It's just that they haven't done it. But that's not my problem. That's not a valid argument, because I'm giving them the research answers that they will find if they were to do the research. So that part's not an issue. The shallow angle in law.
Just to tail on to that, there will be other people, given the nature of the course, that have picked a subject that has absolutely nothing in relation to any of the PhDs that are on the course currently. In other words, they just have to check the legal validity of what's being written in that given subject matter. So it's not that you've picked a topic that is incapable of having a tutor or mentor go through the legality that you are presenting within your subject field that you chose, because there's an infinite number of subject matters that could be chosen. And I'm sure the tutor herself or himself that is dealing with you has gone through this process and has picked a topic that won't be relevant to anybody else who marked it. It's just their topic that they've picked, and it's an aspect of law that's the relevancy. So therefore, it's not a justifiable reason to say there's no subject matter expert in the one specific subject you've chosen to relate an aspect of law to. That's totally unreasonable.
Well, let me just respond to Trish Blythe. She says, welcome to higher education. You have learnt the best lesson, and that is that university does not support critical thinking. They won't expel you. They will just fail you. That's the risk. I agree. They're not going to expel me. But I don't think they can fail me either, because the board of examiners that mark the work are supposed to be external from different universities. Now, of course, I know that Billy from University A will probably be friends with Johnny from University B, and they'll probably coerce with each other and say, "Hey, you got a fucking awkward one here, mate. Make sure that one don't get through." But I'm all right with that, because if they fail it, obviously when it goes, that'll just make it even more marketable if I put it out to the real world market. Because if people know that this failed, when they read through it, they'll be looking for the arguments for why it should fail. Well, the arguments for why it should fail would have to be blatantly, really overt and obvious. So if they fail it, I will release the reasons for why. And then when you read through it yourself and you can see, well, does that satisfy the reasons for failing it? And the answer is going to be, well, no, because the law is there. There's evidence there. There's supporting cases, there's supporting journal references, and it is clearly an issue. And why would it fail? It shouldn't fail. So it doesn't matter if it does fail. But Trish Blythe is quite right. She says, having a law degree myself, I know the system. They will just confirm and do what the profession fail. They will just conform to get the piece of paper. No, I've missed a message there. They will just conform and do what the profession wants them to do. Yeah, that's what I think is going to happen. I think they'll let me do it, and I think they'll somehow find it a way to fail. And if it does fail, then that makes it it proves that you can't write freely about topics that you choose to write about unless they say it's okay. You try challenging the state in some way, and they're not going to let you do it. And I think that I'm going to be the evidence of that. I think they're going to let me do it, and I think they're going to make me fail.
Hey, Eric.
Hello.
Hello.
I think, Anthony, I think that what they're going to do, though, I think they see the ramifications of this. I think in their subconscious mind, they see, if you pull this off, it can ripple through the whole educational system, not just in areas.
Can't hear what you're saying. You've gone all muffled.
Oh, I get muffled. I'm sorry. Can you hear me better now? Is that better?
Yeah, that's better.
I said, I think they see the implications of this, not just in why you're doing it, but this could ripple through the whole educational system and touch every area. And I think they see that if you pull this off. Maybe she's saying it's consciously or not subconsciously, who knows what, but I think they see that. So they're trying to stop it initially, because if you get it through, it's going to hit a lot of areas, you know.
Hey, Flat and Earth.
Hey.
Did you catch all of
I
that,
agree
Anthony?
with what you. I agree with what you've just said. I think that they realise that this is a hot potato because they've had an initial conversation with me, and perhaps I accidentally, maybe on purposely accidentally, I'm not sure what they've picked up on, but they've picked up on something, and they realise this is one of them awkward ones, and they're just closing ranks on me and stopping me from doing it. Now, contractually, they're not going to be able to. Professionally, they may end up making it fail, and I think that they will. I think they're going to fail it. So again, this is something that you can quote me on, ballers. I think that they will fail my work because they don't want it to pass. They'll find any reason to pull it apart. And let's be honest, 12,000 words is a lot to write. I don't know how they're going to pull it apart, because that would actually mean that they'd have to argue the evidence against me. But theoretically speaking and academically speaking, it should be the case that you get all your answers down. And I was always taught that it doesn't matter what your answer is, so long as you correctly justify it, which is what I'm doing. You can choose red, you can choose blue, but argue your case either way and present your opposing arguments against your position, and you will always do well in a paper. And that's what I've always done. It works because they want to see that you understand both sides of the argument. But on this occasion, it doesn't seem to be that way. So,
Hey, Mark.
Hello, gentlemen.
Good to have you.
Good to be here.
Hello, Mark.
You said this from the off, Anthony, so I remember screaming slightly when we were doing the GoFundMe, and you were like, look, this may well fail. I may go through all of this process and not actually achieve what I'm hoping for. But you've been honest about it, and you've disclosed far more than I ever expected you would along this path. I've got to be honest, I didn't think you would go through it. I tentatively ask you each time, are you okay to talk about this? Because obviously you're talking about correspondence with your tutor, and not everyone wants to disclose that sort of information, but the fact that you're so open about it is a testament to, well, your honesty, but the fact that you're open about what you're doing.
What I could do is I could show the main body of the text.
So I don't think it's necessary.
Nobody's
going to challenge you on what you've presented here. If somebody in the chat did, then that's up to you, but I haven't seen anything go by, and I don't think anybody's going to start claiming that that's not what's occurring. You know what I mean? I don't think that's even crossed anybody's mind.
Keyboard Warrior asks, is there any chance that anybody may have told them you're a flat earther and they deliberately working to move against you? No, I don't think anybody knows anything about any. I don't think the people that matter have squealed, because there are people that do know exactly where I'm doing this, because obviously I've told people on my side, and the people I've told I trust. But I don't think anybody's squealed. I think what's happened is I may have inadvertently or accidentally, maybe loosely or carelessly or recklessly perhaps, said a sentence phraseology in a way that may have given the game away at some point. I don't know is the answer, but I reckon that they're onto me in some way. They suspect that. I think what it is. She said that the angle's too shallow in law, and that they've not got a supervisor. Well, for me, that means that they've judged it without reading it first, and they're anticipating that they haven't got. I mean, the angle itself is the strongest argument, but they haven't read the paper, so I don't know how they can argue that without reading the paper, because they don't know what I'm going to come up with, because they haven't got any experts in that area of law. So it seems to be contradictory to argue that you haven't got any experts in law, but my angle's too shallow.
Yeah, that's a bloody good point. They're saying it's too shallow an angle. They don't yet know the angle, and they apparently don't have any expert tutors that can guide you through the specific subject matter. Well, that's a contradiction in terms, isn't it? That's not in terms. That's just a contradiction.
And that's something else along those same lines. I think it's also you're exposing the problem of the peer review process too, when they dismiss you before they even really get to know what's going on or even look at it. I think that happens more often than not in a peer review process. I mean, you're exposing it right now for the world to hear.
Shout out to Gassy Juice. He says, it's all a waste of time. The Earth is obviously and observably a globe.
Imitation being the highest form of flattery.
Yeah. Science last name.
Hello?
Science. Good to have you. Can you say another hello, just so I can sound check you?
Hi, is that okay?
Yeah, not bad. Good to have you.
Great, thanks. Thank you. Sorry, I joined yesterday for a little bit. I tried to join again today, but I had real trouble joining. I don't know why.
Are you on a mobile?
No, on my laptop.
What was the problem you were getting?
It said you were not allowed. So I joined yesterday on an account called Party Time, and then it said you're not allowed to join this call. But it's probably maybe because I'm at work and they try and stop people not.
I had the same problem. It's just a glitch. You just need to keep trying to rejoin.
Yeah. So sorry I missed the start.
That's okay. Did you have something specific you wanted to detail?
A little bit. First, I'll say so actually, I listen to the show quite a lot when I'm at work, and the disclaimer is I'm actually a scientist. So before everyone jumps on top of me screaming, I really want to basically ask you guys a few questions to try and clarify some of the stuff you guys say, because I actually think it's really interesting and really fun listening to the discussion. So I haven't come in here with a big agenda like Bob the science guy yesterday, who was hilarious. I've got a few questions to you guys. Maybe we take it from there if you guys want to discuss things further.
Sure, just clarify for the audience's benefit what side of the fence you sit first, and then ask away.
Oh, sure. I'm 100% what you guys would call a baller.
Cool. Go ahead, ask whatever you like.
So the main things that I'm curious to hear, because whenever you guys, so no one seems to get that, is when you guys are talking about the gravity doesn't not exist argument, and I know you guys always talk about the buoyancy, whether it's differences in densities. Yeah, is that correct? I don't want to put words in anyone's mouth or anything.
Relative buoyancy, relative density is the phrase that you want.
Okay. Can you guys quickly explain that to me again? I generally want to understand how you guys think about that and how you guys explain it.
Dead easy. You have the density of an object, and it's relative to the medium it's in. So if you have a density value of, say, 12, but it's in a medium that's got a value of, say, 3, you know what's going to happen. But if you change that medium and give the density medium a value of 25, then you know what's then going to happen, and that's all it is.
Sure, I agree. Totally agree with you. So the question is, what I don't understand is whether you guys believe that there is some inherent directionality in that or not.
No, there's no direction.
Hold on. So it's relative, though, isn't it? Direction is relative.
Can I pop in here?
I didn't quite hear that. Sorry.
Direction being relative.
Relative to what? Like I said,
if you're a helium balloon, for example, your starting point is different to my starting point, isn't it? So what's down and up to a helium balloon is different to me, in the respect
and of course, if I'm watching, let's just say that I'm watching the same event you're watching, and we're deciding on its so-called direction. If I'm hanging upside down off a tree, but you're stood on your feet watching the same, we have both different interpretations of what we see. One would be up, the other one would be down. Right?
Sure. Okay.
So it's relative. It's relative then.
Would it help if, so for instance, if me and Anthony Riley were doing this, where we're basically, so he's upside down on a tree and I'm standing on my feet, if we both agreed on an absolute direction and said, well, the ground is down.
See, no, because it's relative. Sorry, you didn't concede when I said it earlier. You just seemed to move past it. So I said it's relative then, and you didn't concede that. You're now trying to give us an absolute direction so you can prove there's an absolute direction. So hold on, I hadn't quite finished. So just because you're now telling us to arbitrarily assign a standard down, that doesn't mean that direction stops being relative, does it?
Sure. Okay, no problem.
So hold on. So just to clarify, given that you are what field are you in?
I'm a chemist.
Given that you're a chemist, would you agree that regardless of which side of the fence you sit on, the effects of relative density are pretty much agreed upon on both sides?
I think so, but so the reason I'm asking these questions is I'm not quite sure what you guys mean. This is why I want to ask the questions without going to an argument first, so I can understand what you guys mean first. If you see what I mean.
And that's why I just explained that it is accepted on both sides, the effects of relative density. They're fairly well established and taught in schools, and we all understand them, and they do not change if you move over to the other side of this argument. They are the same for both sides. However, as you've just ably demonstrated, you wanted to assign an arbitrary, fixed direction to something that is by definition relative. Now, I'm trying to get you to understand the inherent problem with what you have tried to get us to do here.
So what I was trying to do, and like I say, I don't want to start an argument yet, because the example I would give is that, so again, so the up and down is a great example. Is if I'm facing you and I say left, and my left is obviously different to your left. So that's also, so all directions are relative. I agree with you. But if you're going to try and move past that or get anywhere, you have to then say, well, actually, how do we get past this? I can say my left and you can say your left.
Sorry, I'm a bit confused. Sorry, I'm a bit confused. What are we trying to get past exactly? Why would we try to get past it? Direction being relative, you've agreed. Now you're saying we must get past this. Why would we need to do such a thing? I don't understand.
So I can try and understand the origin of your argument for buoyancy and density.
I've just said this as well. So I'm now repeating myself. Both sides agree on relative density. It does not change with our position. Do you understand?
No.
So you think we have a different idea about relative density to you?
I'm not certain. That's what I'm saying. So I'm not certain. I don't understand what your argument for it.
No, we're not presenting. Hold on. We're not presenting an argument. We have fundamentalists that tell us, after arbitrarily assigning down, that we've got a force of down. So that's what you've done. We make no claims in this regard, and our opinions on relative density are the same as yours. Those principles haven't changed because I realise we've been lied to about living on a spinning ball. Those principles are the same still, even though I'm now a flat earther. So our position is irrelevant in this regards. It's the same as yours, other than the fact you seem to want to arbitrarily assign a fixed down to something that is relative. That is something you have tried to achieve, and upon me pointing it out, you've said we need to move past this relative direction thing, like it's somehow a problem. It is if you have a fundamentalist belief in a downward force called gravity.
Okay, I agree with that. So in that case, would you be happy for me to discuss it in terms of, if we're letting go of things, whether they go towards the ground or towards the sky? Are you happy with that as a discussion?
Why, when we both agree, this is now the third time I've said this, this is a non-point, we both agree on this aspect. The only bit we don't agree on is the bit we ask in housekeeping. Is there any scientific evidence for your fundy belief after arbitrarily fixing a direction? That's your problem and your claim, given you have the fundamentalist belief about living on a spinning ball. We make no claims in this regard, and our explanation for relative density is the same as yours. Just minus the bullshit bit about gravity after fixing a downward direction.
I just want to go back to the question that I asked you. So does what I said regarding, are we in agreement that there is a towards the ground and a towards the sky? Is that an acceptable way of discussing things?
It's relative. The direction is relative to your starting position. So we're moving past that anyway, are we? Did we not discuss this? Did we not just discuss this? I'm sorry. Am I losing my marbles? Or did we not discuss this? In fact, was it not the first objection I raised? The fact that it's relative.
But if towards the ground and towards the sky, there is no relative in that case. Right?
Well, you've just described it though, haven't you? You've assigned it, haven't you? Relative to your position, right? So that's the starting point. You're going to say a helium balloon goes up and a stone goes down. But you have to assign the starting position, don't you? To get your vector.
No, I'm not. Sorry, I apologise for interrupting.
Well, you have to assign a starting position. Silence. Yes, it's relative. We went through it. We've covered it.
Up or down. I'm saying towards the ground and towards the sky.
Yes, I just explained this, and I'm going to repeat myself now for a third time. You have to assign your starting point. So is this relative to you that you're going to now describe what happens to potentially a helium balloon and stone? Yes, of course it is, because it's relative. So we've covered this, and you're trying to move past it. For some reason, I would suspect it's because you have a fundy belief in down.
Nathan, I think he's actually trying to get on the same page. I don't think he's really trying to.
Yeah, he is.
But
He's
I
trying.
got
He's
something.
trying.
Go on.
He has said a couple of times that he doesn't want to fall out at this point. He wants to establish what is the starting point.
Well, that's the problem. That's what I'm saying. You've got to get a starting point, right, Anthony? He wants to assign it. So once we've got it assigned, he can move forward with his fundy bullshit about what down is. Yeah? And I'm saying, no.
I agree, Nathan. Actually, I agree with you, actually, to be honest. You're right.
Thank you. So can we stop this shit then? Because it's getting tedious.
If we say we take a starting point of...
Why? Have I not just covered this 3 times with you? Are you deaf? Are you stupid?
No.
Why are you now deliberately and intentionally trying to piss me off then? So if we assign down was the first words out your sodding mouth. This is relative. So yes, you can arbitrarily assign this for everything always, but that's not what actually happens, is it? You've just conceded this moments earlier.
I totally agree, up and down.
So shut up about it then. Why are we getting circle jerked by a sodding chemist? If you get it, let's move on. So you have no point in this regard then. What is your site? Let me just take control of this crap. You've asked enough questions. Now I'll ask you something. What is your scientific evidence for gravity?
I'm not trying to present any, and also...
Well, you should be. You came in and declared you had a fundamentalist belief in a globe. So now you've quizzed us on our beliefs about relative density, which is the same as yours. You've tried to assign what starting point we should all have. Now I'm asking you a question. What's your scientific evidence for gravity? Give it me.
I believe that when you...
I don't want to know about what you believe. Don't start a sentence when asked for scientific evidence with I believe. Start it with maybe an independent or a dependent variable, maybe a formulated hypothesis, maybe a series of systematic experiments that have been performed to validate the cause of this effect that you have a fundamentalist belief about. Do not start with the words I believe. Thank you, Mr. Chemist. On you go with your scientific evidence, please.
Okay, I really didn't want to get into this part of the argument because...
What, the bit about gravity that you quizzed us about, our contrary beliefs? Yes, you've already done that. Now I'm going to ask you again. Don't tell me you're not trying to get into it. You asked us about our contrary beliefs. We've established, this is now me repeating myself again, for the second time, that we have the same ideas about relative density as you. They haven't changed. We're talking in respect to gravity. You've asked enough questions. I've given you enough answers. Now answer me. What's your scientific evidence for gravity?
When you drop something, that provides support for the evidence of gravity.
What, a helium balloon?
When you drop something which is more dense than air, it provides support.
Oh, that seems to be a caveat. So it seems to be that you're now inserting a caveat that relates or refers to relative density. So it's dependent on the density then?
Yes.
Well, that's got sod all to do with anything then, has it? Because you've just explained it in your description of the fact that it's got more or less density.
So the question I was trying to get at...
it's not your question. You've had question time. I've let you give us your questions. You're not answering mine. Dropping something is not scientific evidence. Are you lying about being a scientist?
No.
What scientific evidence?
So... This is so before you interrupt. So this is when I say what I'm going to say, this is going to open a whole shitstorm, which I don't want to go down because it's not the most interesting thing we can discuss. But what you guys consider to be this very important in science, which is you guys all tend to like both on both sides of the argument on your channel, is about the scientific method. Is actually real scientists. There is no official scientific method that you must follow.
Yes, there is.
Anyway, I really don't want to discuss. Can we go back to trying to talk about
Sorry,
gravity?
you didn't answer my question. I asked a supplementary question.
Okay, sorry, go on.
What is scientific evidence?
So the whole thing is scientific evidence is very hard to define.
No, it's not. It's hypothesis-driven, systematic experimentation based on a naturally observed phenomena. Was that too difficult?
That's wrong. That's the problem. And I really don't want to discuss about this.
Sorry, don't tell me I'm wrong. I'll ask you a third time. Maybe you'd like to give me an answer. Don't tell me I'm wrong. Tell me, what is scientific evidence?
It's not possible to define very simply.
Yes, it is. I just defined it. You said it was incorrect. So it's not systematic experimentation based on a hypothesis. It's not.
Sometimes it is.
Oh, sometimes it is. So it's not impossible to define then. I've just defined it, and that's what it is sometimes.
Yes.
So I am correct, as opposed to what you asserted that I was incorrect. And it is what defines a scientific experiment. That is what gives you scientific evidence. So I'll ask you, Mr. Scientist, what is your scientific evidence for gravity?
When you drop something which is denser than air, it falls towards the ground, and that provides support for the evidence of gravity.
That's not scientific evidence now, is it?
It is scientific evidence. But can we talk
sorry,
about
a declaration of something that lends credence. You think that's scientific? They should strip you of any sort of scientific accreditation you have right here, right now.
Perhaps, science guy, if I suggested that if we drop something to the ground and it appears to go towards the ground, perhaps we could describe that as an observed phenomena?
Okay, I'm happy with that. Great.
Okay. So what's the next step after you observe a phenomena?
Oh, so like I said, I really honestly, I'd much prefer if we talk about actually the argument for density and buoyancy and whether it needs gravity or not, rather than the scientific method.
Excuse me.
Can I pop in here?
No, you can't. I have asked for scientific evidence of gravity. You've told us we dropped something, which tells me that you don't understand what science is. You've then said you can't define what science is. You absolutely can. It's a method. That's what science is, the scientific method. Now, you have had a little bit of hand-holding from Anthony, a non-scientist, and you've agreed with me in my definition after telling me it's wrong. Now, from this point on, I just think you're lying. I don't think you are a scientist.
Fine.
You've lent no credence, and you've now said that you want to discuss this argument that I've ripped to pieces only about 10 minutes ago. So you want to go back to relative density, something we both agree on both sides, and see whether or not your fundy belief fits into it. Well, yeah, you can make your fundy belief fit into it by giving us some scientific evidence for it. I keep asking for it, you keep distracting away from it. I'd just like a scientist, self-professed, I agree, but nonetheless, a self-professed scientist to give me his science for this thing he's come in to question us about. Not our claim. We don't claim this crap. You do. So give us science for it, please.
So I'll repeat what I said before, but so we don't go around the same argument again. This is why I want to try and understand how you guys think the argument of relative density operates in relation to...
Are you deaf? You're deaf. You are. You're dumb and deaf. It's not our argument. Repeat after me. We both agree how relative density works. It doesn't suddenly fundamentally change.
My point is that my point is that relative density can only operate when you have gravity.
Oh, so your point is you've got a fundy belief about gravity. Yeah, we already covered that as well. Now I'm asking you to validate it scientifically rather than give us your fundamentalist belief about it. Aren't you a scientist?
So the this up is that I'm curious to know you
keep telling me how curious you are about what we think, and I'm curious about your scientific evidence for this fundy belief you have. Are you going to give it to us? You're a scientist, right? So give me science.
So I'll just repeat the same thing I said before.
If you do, I'll kick you out because I'm tired of you becoming a circle-jerking fundamentalist. I'm not interested in your musings or inquiry about our beliefs about something that we all agree upon, relative density. That's not the claim. The claim is gravity. your claim. So I'd like you to back your claim rather than quizzing me on what we think, which is actually the same as what you think, about relative density. Don't just tell us that relative density only works with your fundamentalist belief and then go on to ask me something. Just validate scientifically your fundy belief in gravity by giving us scientific evidence for it. You are claimed to be a scientist. So, for the last time, give me science.
If gravity didn't exist, relative density would not be possible.
So that's called affirming the consequent formal logical fallacy. If gravity didn't exist, then relative density wouldn't be possible. Relative density wouldn't be possible because gravity does exist.
Let me ask him a question. Let me ask him a question.
Hold on, he's just formulated a logical fallacy. Let's see if he says, no, it wasn't logical fallacy, it was actually scientific evidence, because he's a dingbat.
So was it?
Sorry, you didn't give us scientific evidence. You didn't give me formulated hypothesis. You didn't give me independent and dependent variables. You didn't give me an observed phenomena. You didn't give me a presumed cause. You didn't give me a null hypothesis. You didn't give me systematic experimentation to back your claim. You didn't give me any peer review. You didn't give me anything other than a formal logical fallacy. Now, I'd like you to either concede that you've just given me logical fallacy or defend your logical fallacy so I can have a good laugh at why a scientist, self-proclaimed, is giving me logical fallacy instead of science.
So I'm trying to figure out if it is a logical fallacy or not. Give me a second.
Was it scientific evidence?
No,
Or did you give what sounded like an if and then relationship, but declaring something that you haven't proven scientifically as the then? It sounded like an if and then.
Yeah, it was absolutely if and then, and maybe it was a logical fallacy.
Yeah, it was a logical fallacy, you stupid scientific idiot. Why have you been given any sort of accreditation in science? I've asked you about 6 times for your scientific evidence for your fundy belief in gravity. So fundy, is that all you are, a fundy with a belief in this? Or do you have... Just say, don't be a jerk, just say, I don't have scientific evidence for gravity.
So, firstly, I fully agree. Belief in gravity is a belief. Belief in everything is...
No, we don't hold beliefs as evidence. Don't tell me about your belief. We already covered this. I'm not interested in your beliefs. You claim to be a scientist.
Can I ask you guys a bit more?
No! Don't ask me anything. Give me scientific evidence of gravity, you fundy zealot.
Can I ask Anthony Riley?
No, did you not hear the answer? Can I ask? You're asking permission. The permission denied, dickhead. Now give me your science, science boy.
When you drop something which is more dense than air, it falls towards the ground.
Sorry, what's this more dense bit?
That's our argument.
Yeah, that's the relative density bit that we all agree upon. Not the fundy religious bit, gravity bit. No? You're not getting this? We've gone through that 3 times. The same interruption from Anthony, both times.
Boring. I'd rather not do the boring argument about logical fallacies and scientific evidence. I'd rather
actually... Oh, do you find it boring? Do you find me pointing out your fallacious reasoning boring?
Yeah.
Oh, sod off then. If this is boring to you, go away to a fundy zealot globehead site and tell him about your logical fallacies there. Because I thought when you declared yourself a scientist that you would give us something other than fallacy. It may bore you that I point out your logical fallacy, but to me, it's an absolute outrage that somebody who declares themselves a scientist presents fallacy when asked for scientific evidence of something. It's a disgrace.
So instead, can I ask about a mechanism of this?
Do I need to repeat the question? Please give me your scientific evidence of gravity.
So when we started, when I logged in here, I really hope we wouldn't end up like this, because honestly, I really don't want to have a big argument with you guys. I really want to understand what you guys are saying in a clear manner. I don't want
really? You want to understand about our claim of gravity? Oh, we don't have one. That's the end of that problem. Now let's move on to your fundy belief in gravity. We don't have a claim in this regard. Does that answer your question? We don't have a claim. We don't have a claim in this regard. You do.
Nathan, listen, we do have a claim about gravity. The claim is that they cannot prove it.
So, before the end of this show, will we get science from the scientist or not?
So I logged on to ask you guys to clarify some questions. Is that okay or not?
No, when I'm asking you for science. You came on and declared, like some arrogant wanker who thinks we should respect him, that you're a scientist. Now, ignorant person, give me your science for this bullshit of gravity. Surely you're not going to embarrass yourself with all of these people who also believe as you do that you've got gravity. Surely you're going to save all these people from this horror that it's just your fundy belief by actually providing scientific evidence for it. Or will you just continually say you've got questions for us about your fundy belief in gravity?
No, I've got questions for you guys about how the buoyancy and density argument works from your side.
And I've said this already too, it doesn't change for our side of the argument. You kept on referring to the density when you explained your fundy belief in gravity. You put in the explanation. It's the same as ours. The only problem being you also insert something beyond that. That would be gravity. I'll say it again, then I'll thank the audience and ask them to stick around for the next live show, or stick around if they're in the Nathan Oakley 1980 chat, because there'll be an after show where we go through this same thing with you 10 more times. And at the end of each awkward pause, you ask us if you can ask us some questions about relative density, which we all agree on. It's not our argument for gravity. We don't have one. It's just bullshit.
Okay, I think I have a way of which we can evolve the conversation a bit if you'll let me speak for a bit. Yeah?
No, he was talking to the audience.
Okay, sorry. I'll wait for
yeah. And by the way, I don't think.
Sorry, did you say he's talking to the audience?
On relative density.
Fuck. Sorry, did you just take over hosting my show for a moment there?
I don't.
Do you want me to kick you out?
I thought you muted the panel.
Yeah, I don't give a shit what you think. Did you just decide to tell my guests what was going on with my show?
No, he thought
he was asking you a
closing
question, and then I told him that you were
asked if
talking
he could.
to your
He
audience.
asked Zinder if he could talk uninterrupted. Then I went on mute, so he knew he wasn't going to get interrupted by me. Then you told him that I was talking to the audience, did you not?
Yeah, so he was.
Sorry. So who the fuck are you? Do you produce this show, Zinder?
I just gave him a.
No, you just decided you were producing this show, did you?
I mean, you muted the panel, didn't you? When
Excuse me, Zinder. Are you asking me to justify how I produce this show now? Who the hell do you think you are? Zinder. Yeah, Zinder, this isn't going to obfuscate. Your man asked for a pause, right? I gave him one. Now I'd like to hear his nonsense. I doubt it'll be scientific evidence of gravity, even though he's a scientist, self-proclaimed. But I'm going to hear it, Zinder. Yeah?
I don't mind. I just informed him.
Hello?
Yeah, go on, mate, speak.
Okay, great. So can I ask you guys a question? It's a bit long-winded, so I hope we get there in the end. If you guys filled up a bottle, Coke bottle, whatever, with half oil and half water, right? And then you seal it, right? So just oil and water.
Deep down, I knew inside that he wouldn't be giving us scientific evidence and they'd actually start asking a question. So with that, I will say, first and foremost, a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the live audience in the Nathan Oakley channel for tuning in and hopefully sharing this debate. If you're watching this on Nathan Oakley 1980, then stay tuned as there will be a short after show. Also, a massive thank you to all of the debating panel for making this debate possible. If you're watching in the live stream and you need something to do in the gap, then go to nathanoakley.com and join the community forum to keep up to date with the community Flat Earth debate. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Drop. drop a bottle of two different liquids?
If you shake the two liquids, right? So oil and water, you shake, then you drop it. Yeah. It won't separate out until it hits the ground. So
How do you know that's true?
Oh, you can do it yourself.
Yeah, but you've just created a situation where you've mixed the two elements together rapidly, and it's still in that state of disequilibrium.
Is
That's
it just
not
me, or are
good.
we now arguing about relative density?
But my point
And
is,
also,
so if you shake the two liquids together, right, and the second you stop shaking, right, so if you start a timer, in probably 1 or 2 seconds it will separate out. If you don't drop it, if you drop it, it won't begin to separate out until it hits the ground again. So as long as it falls, it won't separate.
What's your point?
The point is, I don't understand in that case, if relative density is all that matters, inside that bottle, it shouldn't know whether it's falling or not, right? And so it should separate out regardless. That's
So what evidence have you got that does support your assertion that it doesn't separate out whilst it's in free fall?
You can do it. You can drop it.
Sorry,
you can see
sorry.
it.
What does this
Also,
prove?
you've actually done on parabolic
Sorry,
flights.
I just need to get clarity. What the hell does this prove?
It proves that there has to be something else happening other than there has to be another reason for going beyond relative density. There has to be something which transcends just the two materials just being in contact with each other.
But there is something beyond them being in contact with each other. You're dropping them.
But then if relative density is all that happens, how do the things that are being dropped know they're being dropped?
They don't know. You've just dropped them. That's the thing that's occurred. But you're saying something else must be happening because relative density doesn't occur when I install this extra thing of dropping it.
But surely if relative density is all that matters, then...
Sorry, yeah. Relative density is all that matters, and you've got a fundy belief in gravity. I've still asked you for scientific evidence. You still keep quizzing us on relative density, something we all agree on. Now tell us what the scientific evidence for gravity is.
So I can just repeat the same boring thing I've said before, but we were getting somewhat interesting in the discussion, and I think everyone else hopefully...
No, we're not. We're discussing relative density, something we agree on both sides. Do you think we disagree on this point?
Yes. Yes, we do.
And is the point... Hold on. And is the point of disagreement specifically gravity?
No, I don't think it is, actually. I don't think it is.
Oh, what point do you think we disagree on then?
I think that, and it goes back to our same conversation at the beginning, is I think it's about the directionality, and obviously whether you...
Oh, that would be relative though, wouldn't it? Didn't we cover this, you utter fuckwit?
No, because I think on reflection, I think you can define absolute in terms of...
Oh, you can? Yeah, you, the fundy zealot, can define it. You can tie it to something, can't you? Yeah, we covered this too. Do you have amnesia?
No.
So, do you not listen?
No, I'm listening.
Well, we covered this, did we not? We got lots of concessions, did we not?
No, but I don't think we found a common ground on which we can discuss
No, because you said, I can define it. I can make the starting point be the same always. Didn't you?
I can't remember, but yeah, I think you can.
Yeah, that's the problem though, isn't it?
What's the problem?
What, you tying something that's relative down to something specific? So then you've got an arbitrary down. Yeah, that's a problem, especially as you want to assign a force to that down.
So the example I gave at the beginning is that, so you can argue that left and right are obviously relative, but west and east are not relative. And that's my point.
What the fuck does that have to do with gravity?
It has the fact that you can so up and down are relative, but towards the ground and towards the sky are not relative, they're absolute.
Sorry, I'll say it again. What the fuck does that have to do with gravity?
It has to do with gravity because once you can talk about things in absolutes, you can talk about whether there isn't possibly a force dragging things towards one or the other.
Oh, so once you assign an absolute... Oh, it seems like yesterday. Got you going round in circles again, my friend.
Do you disagree?
This is you circle jerking us. Round and round and round we go. Once you assign an absolute... Yeah, didn't we just cover this literally 30 seconds ago?
No.
Yeah, now you're stuttering, you stuttering dick. We did cover this only 30 seconds ago.
And I thought it was quite clear that my example shows that you can talk about absolutes in terms
Yes,
of both.
you can. You can. Yeah, you can do and will, so you can assign this downward force. What part of this aren't you getting?
I don't understand your reluctance to accept.
To what? Have you assigned down and then tell us it's a force? Yeah, I'm deeply reluctant to do that. It's a shock horror.
But why is I'm not talking about up and down. I'm talking about towards the ground and towards.
Yeah,
the
I
sky.
know. Yeah, I know what you're doing, dickhead. We all know as well. Everyone on the panel knows what's going on. The only person who doesn't is you. That's why you're going around in circles like this. With me, yeah? With a little stick pushing you around in them.
Can't we just get back to the simple question of what's the scientific proof for gravity?
Very good question, Anthony. It's shocking you should ask that, because you know what? We've got a scientist on the panel. I don't know if he's actually a scientist. He just says he is. But maybe you'd like to ask him that very question, Anthony. Mr. Scientist, Anthony's got a question for you.
Go for
What
it.
scientific evidence have you got for gravity?
Okay.
Please.
I think what provides good evidence.
Sorry, I don't need what you think. I need you to give us systematic experimentation backed by a hypothesis, not what you think.
So this is going back to the thing that, so in terms of scientific method and systematic hypothesis, that's not all necessarily in terms of science or discovery. They're not requirements. And so going down that
Yeah, they
route
are.
is-
That's what makes science. That is science. It's a method. If you've adhered to it, you've got scientific evidence. Don't try and talk your way around it and say that something that someone's declared is science, because it isn't, sunshine. Yeah? So if you've not got those things I've asked for, just say I don't have them. Don't try and define what the scientific method is. Just say I don't have anything that's adhered to that. Just admit it. Have some courage, grow a pair of balls, and say, I don't have scientific evidence. I can't give you something that's gone through rigorous experimentation. I can't give you a valid hypothesis. Why don't you say that instead of redefining science or saying you can't qualify it, or you can't term it, or you can't define it? Just admit it, science boy.
The scientific method is something which has historically been useful, but actually scientists nowadays...
Yeah, historically, it's useful for proving things empirically. Very, very, very useful indeed. That's why I want it. I know science doesn't do it now. Now we have pseudo-scientists that call themselves scientists that look at a phenomena and then tell us what's causing it. They look at a light in the sky and say, you see that light in the sky? That's a gas. It's a gas in a vacuum. And you go, really? And they go, yeah, science. And then they redefine what science is. Well, fucktard. We want you to actually support it with real science, something that's adhered to the scientific method. That's why we ask for scientific evidence of gravity, something you're yet to give us.
But the scientific method is something which is relatively irrelevant.
It's empirical. It proves the cause of an effect. It validates a prediction, also known as a hypothesis. It's a very useful method of proving things. So that's why I want it. If it's not, why the hell are you doing science then? You seem to be telling us how utterly invalid your profession is. Why would you do that?
I'm saying that science has evolved beyond the scientific method. And I can give you an
that's
example.
our problem with it. That's the issue.
Interesting.
Yeah, scientific method's empirical, and science, this entity that you think it is when you reify this term science, has suddenly evolved. Like science, a method, is capable of evolution. You're reifying science, sunshine.
I'll give you an example of where a hypothesis is not always a useful thing.
A hypothesis is a scientific prediction. An experiment is a hypothesis test. So if you are to assert that it's not useful, then it's not science.
So it can be useful, but it's not always
if you're doing science, it's very useful because it is science. So a hypothesis is definitely needed if you're going to do hypothesis tests, otherwise known as experiments. So again, don't try and talk me around why we want science. You're supposed to be a scientist, but you're going to tell me how science isn't really this method, and it's actually the words of man, and that science, a method, has evolved because you seem to have a reification fallacy disorder. Science doesn't evolve, it's just a method. And I want you to provide something that's been through that method that backs your fundy belief in gravity. Do you have it or not?
Okay, I can give you. So I'll try and bring it all together, right? Let's get away from the scientific method argument because
No. I'm asking for scientific evidence of gravity, and you're saying let's get away from the science of it. No, scientist. You'd expect the scientist on the panel to be the one person who wants to go to the scientific method.
I've got to agree with Nathan.
Okay, so if you guys want, I can give you guys an example of where hypothesis is not always the most useful way of tackling science.
No, it is science. Experiments are hypothesis tests. A hypothesis is a scientific prediction. To say that you want to provide a citation where a hypothesis is not useful is to say you want to give a citation for when you don't want to do science.
Oh, I can give you lots of citations as to people saying that the scientific method is relatively relevant.
Okay.
Oh, well, they would if they were pseudoscientists. I would want to discredit an empirical method and say it's not very useful if I was going to assert that a light in the sky is a gas in a vacuum. I'd find it very useful to say, let's not bother with the empirical method. Let's just redefine the term science to mean what I say, rather than something that's gone through systematic experimentation based on a hypothesis after observing a phenomena in the natural world. Let's ignore that method, because I just want to assert something. For example, gravity. If I can change the meaning of science, when someone asks me for science, I'll just say, I arbitrarily assign what down is, and then call it a force. And that's science. No, it isn't. Science is a method, something that doesn't evolve, it doesn't have lips, it doesn't have papers, it doesn't peer review. It's just a method. If you adhere to it, you prove or disprove your hypothesis, otherwise known as a scientific prediction. Now, if you've not got that, that's your tough luck, Fundy.
Nathan, can I say something? Can I say something real quick? Because I think it'll help. Can you hear me okay? We're actually, instead of you trying to science, if you instead of us trying, you're trying to redefine what we're asking. We're giving you the means by which you can actually prove it to us. You keep trying to change the definition so you don't have to use that method, but we're giving you the means to do that. So most people are asking what kind of evidence we're looking for. We're giving you that, but nobody wants to do that. They also want to change the definition or change the means by which they want to prove it. Try to convince us to go along their way. So really, Nathan is saying, we're giving you the way to prove it to us, but you don't want to go there. That's what I hear, and that's probably what everybody on the panel is hearing.
So I agree with that. And so thank you. That explains the viewpoint really nicely and really civilly. And so the reason why we can't prove, so for instance, gravity, like I said, I don't know anything about gravity, right?
Give us the reason.
Yeah, so the reason is because the scientific method is very restrictive. Okay, and so that's the reason it's evolved. That's why it's not possible in lots of fields. And I'll give you a specific example, unrelated.
So in relation to gravity, apply it to just gravity. Can science and the scientific method prove gravity? Yes or no?
If it was possible to prove, Anthony, I'm going to answer that because I need to round out. If it was possible to prove a cause and effect relationship, then science would be the tool to do it. And what we're detailing, or what these Fundy zealots are detailing, is absolutely a cause and effect relationship and definitely falls within the realm of science.
Absolutely. But that's what I'm saying. But the question is, can the scientific method...
So if it does fall in the realm of science and you assert it's real, give me scientific evidence for it right now.
My point. So this is my point, is that the scientific method is not actually how science is done.
Yeah, it is. The scientific method is science.
Yeah, this is where you're going into the realms of pseudoscience, dude.
So
science
if you want,
like I
say, I can give you guys those.
Science does prove things. It proves cause and effect. How many?
It shows evidence. It doesn't prove things.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. So just to cut off Zinder, it proves or disproves your hypothesis. Your hypothesis being your scientific prediction. Your prediction of the cause of the effect. So it proves the cause. That's the point. It is empirical. And when retards like you, Zinder, state that it doesn't prove things, then you're disagreeing with the very purpose of doing it in the first place. And with that, I'm going to say first and foremost a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the debating panel for making this debate possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of the audience in Nathan Oakley 1980 for tuning in and hopefully sharing this debate. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and join the Flat Earth Debate Community Forum there. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!